We are on the afternoon break in the questioning of Keith Edmondson at the undercover policing inquiry. He is facing further questions about his complete lack of knowledge of everything, it seems, that his undercover officers were doing. He keeps saying things like, I like to think that I thought that I was under the impression that we did various things which it appears they didn't do, or had knowledge of things they didn't have knowledge of. I'm joined by Evelyn Lubbers of the Undercover Research Group. What do you make of what we've heard from him this afternoon?
Well, it's quite incredible, isn't it? Like, it's been put to him, like they went through all the undercovers that had relationships under his supervision, so to say, and asked him why he didn't know that, for instance, Mark Jenner went on a holiday with abroad with Alison, went to family affairs like marriages and birthdays. And he kept saying, like, I just didn't know, and I never asked.
It was quite offensive, actually, some of the things he said. He rejected the idea that Mark Jenner had penetrated Alison's family in any way.
Yeah.
He said it was operationally required in order to maintain his undercover identity. When it points out this wasn't the case. Also, I mean, the thing with the holidays, it's not just that he went on holiday with Alison. It's also that he took his own time off and used that to go on holiday in his undercover persona.
So there was some attention to the fact that some of the undercovers, and Jenner is one of them, kind of started to believe that they were their cover identity. So they had troubles, like keeping the barriers up. But then also, it was put to him like, why didn't you ask? Why didn't you take responsibility? He didn't know of various undercovers that they divorced while deployed, while on the other hand, like the stable marriages was something that should have kept them on track. And of everything he was asked, like, as a manager, you should have known, you should have asked. And he said, like you say, he said, like, in hindsight or sitting here now. So it was put to him that some of the things were managerial fault. But he couldn't agree to that. He sticks to that idea that he was a good manager and he did a good job. And he kept his eyes closed and hands over his ears. He just didn't want to acknowledge that so many things went wrong while he was the manager.
Yeah, I mean, he came out with some absolute howlers. I mean, one of the things, look, this would seem to be typical of his approach. He said, well, when I joined the unit, I recognized the importance of the spouses in the entire process. So because of that, I started an initiative where we invited them around for afternoon tea. At the safe house. And I was under the impression that we did this with every spouse, but I've since learned that many of the spouses said they weren't given that opportunity. And then it was put to him, so, well, who do you know did? And he said, I think it was just HN26, Christine Green's spouse who we invited. And it turns out that obviously Christine Green was the only female officer that he was ever in charge of, that we know of. Her husband was a police officer. And he said, well, because he was a police officer and understood the way the police operated, inviting him around for afternoon tea at the safe house, well, it didn't pose any operational concerns. And it just seemed this was the only thing that happened. Yet he tried to make out this was his sort of concern for the wives.
So he's not only denying things, he's also lying, like blatantly. And he's also saying that, like when it was put to him that there was no, like, the women had to keep the men on the rail. There was no support for them. He didn't reach out to them. He kind of, he blurted something and lied again, like you said, that he did do that. And he did that about a lot of things.
It's amazing, actually. I mean, like, we've talked a lot about how a great number of the witnesses at the inquiry contradict themselves. But I don't think we've had any witness who's contradicted himself literally in the same breath so many times, sort of going, oh, I thought that, oh, no, wait a minute. This is, and he's all, I like to think that this is what it was this, but actually perhaps it was this, he keeps doing it.
Well, we were hoping that his approach would let him slip more details. But the only thing that we're learning basically is that there was no management, and you really start to wonder what were they doing all day, all week. Like Bob Lambert and him just chatting away at the office. They were sharing an office, and he said so many times that he learned so much from Bob Lambert, but the most he must have learned is not to ask anything, not to say anything, not to care about this. Although he says he cared a lot about his undercovers, he had no clue what they were doing, where they were living. And Sarah Hemingway, the barrister, did ask him, like, there must have been ways, like checking their passports, listening to their phones or their pages. There must have, but the idea of surveying the surveyors didn't come up. Like he would never do that, because that would have broken the trust between the managers and the undercover officers.
Yeah, he kept coming back to this, that there was nothing more they could have done. They did their very best. He did all he could do, and he doesn't see. And when it was put to him that maybe there should have been more monitoring, he's like, no, definitely not. That actually everything was fine. Everything was absolutely fine. I had to trust these. They were professional police officers.
It's incredible. Like, there's no reflection, no hindsight, no. Well, sometimes he would say, like, with knowing what I know now, maybe I should have. That's the furthest he would go. But something of reflection on the bigger picture of the job he has done, or his entire period at the SDS. There's none of it. There's really none of it, and he made a mess of it, and he can't acknowledge that.
No, you can't acknowledge it at all. He can't acknowledge any form of wrongdoing whatsoever. And he is, increasingly annoyed. He's been annoyed since the very beginning, but he doesn't like the fact that he keeps saying to Sarah Hemingway, I don't know what you want from me. I don't know what the question is. I don't know what you want me to say.
There is the issue that he's being questioned by a powerful woman, a strong woman, which we've seen with other, like, difficult undercovers, like women-hating, misogynist undercovers. They really got so annoyed with Sarah Hemingway, and Sarah Hemingway is doing a great job by just, repeating her question, trying to get him to reflect a bit. But that is something impossible with this manager.
Yeah. It's only a short break. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No.
All right, we'll be doing a lot longer video at the end of the day. Please join us for that if you can. And please like, share, and subscribe. 35 people watching. No one's liked it yet. Please help us out by helping share these videos.